Welcome back. In today's episode, we're discussing renewable energy revolution opportunities and challenges. Well, coming to renewable energy financing, according to you, what are the major challenges on this front?
If we take financing for renewable energy, earlier the regulatory mechanism was not in place, and so there were issues with regard to tariff for certain projects. But now you have wind projects financing is not an issue. Almost 70% of the renewable energy development has taken place in wind. And with GBI incentive, the tariffs are not very attractive, but yes, they are, all the projects are financeable. For solar projects, solar PV, there is not much of an issue, although there was some hindrance, some lenders were not coming forward for funding. But only issue is maybe with respect to CSP projects. Solar thermal projects, which have, because there is no experience, lenders are not very confident, and definitely there has to be some mechanism, some vetting to be done by a central agency so that the projects take off. But in biomass projects had faced some problems because the cost of biomass has been going up, and when the projects were envisaged, the cost was something. But now those things are also in place, and that is also factored in. So I think more or less, except for maybe solar thermal, of course it is more difficult compared to conventional projects, because here your resource is not, there is an uncertainty on resource. So that is why the issues are there in financing of renewable energy projects. If there is a business model, any bank, even IREDA would be willing to finance a off-grid project. But if there is no business model, I think it will be very difficult for banks to come forward.
But then from the government side, we have subsidies. We subsidize to a large extent. For certain areas, we even give up to 90% subsidy for the very remote and difficult areas. And with that subsidy, then it becomes viable. Otherwise, maybe on its own, it may not be viable. And then we also have concessional finance at 5%. We give interest subsidy. We have a scheme through NABARD, and several banks are partnering in that. So funds are available, and people can build small solar stations where they can use that for charging, and solar lantern charging and all. That's becoming quite common. It's being done in so many villages now. Other than that, if someone wants to do a mini grid on a slightly bigger scale, even that can be eligible for government subsidy, and loaning is also possible.
The question is of timing. Fiscal policy revisions are that much more frequent. Tomorrow the RBI governor can announce, okay, we are hiking another 25 basis points. The interest rates that banks can avail money at from RBI. So banks the day after will say, okay, we are hiking rates across the board. By the time the regulator realizes that, okay, the costs are going up, at least on the financing part, and he announces a new feed-in tariff, during that period, it will be impossible for you to get a loan. And it takes time from the date you hike the interest rates to the date your new feed-in tariffs are given.
Mr. Sen, India has to add 17 gigawatt renewable energy in next 5-year plan and requires an investment of up to 1.5 trillion rupees. Last year we saw around 12% growth in renewable energy investment. How do you see this trend?
I think the key issues is going to be adoption. I think what we would like to see as the private sector player is we would like to get larger allocations. The 20,000 megawatt that the government has come out with. I think it is very difficult for a player in the marketplace to go and source panels at globally competitive prices with a 5 or 10 or 15 megawatt allocation. I think if you look at what has happened in the round one of the implementation, most of these projects are balance sheet finance. I don't believe that is the way the sector will grow unless the banks get involved. And the banks are not willing to lend, that's the truth. We have gone door to door, and the bottom line is, with the competitive bidding, the banks know what the cost is. And I think that the CRC and MNRE has done a very thorough study and come up with a tariff. We should abide by the tariff because it's a cost plus scenario. If you look at the thermal space, the last 40 years, it has flourished. Why? Because it's a cost plus. If you look at the wind space, it has flourished. Why? It is a cost plus. Now, if we move away from the cost plus model in solar and go to competitive bidding, I think it's too early. I think the industry is very nascent, and most people cannot get financing for their projects. So yeah, balance sheet financing is fine for 5, 10, 15, 20. But if we really want to get going on the 20,000 megawatts, we need to stick by the tariff that is published. And look, everybody I think knows what profit a developer is making. We are capped at between 12 and 14%. So if you look at cost of lending, the banks want to make sure that they'll get their money back, that it won't be a non-performing asset at the end of the day. So I think this is the real hurdle for a developer in the space.
What are the major issues and concerns related to accelerated renewable energy development in the country?
What I feel now is cost of wind power is more or less towards the grid parity. So the problem of the utilities accepting more and more wind power now boils down to the variable nature of wind power, because that creates imbalances into the grid apart from the evacuation constraint. That is going to be a major step which the wind industry is already planning to take up, so that we address this problem of variability and bring in some kind of an forecasting solutions. If that happens and the transmission happens, I don't think cost of wind is going to be a major issue. That's because I think we are setting quite a good target even for 2015, and if the transmission and the other things are addressed, apart from wind, the other technologies which are looking promising today would also have a major share. At the moment, wind is about 80%, and slowly that percentage would come down and other technologies would take off. If that happens, then we can go up to 20%.
Mr. Chaturvedi?
Yeah, I think the 20% is a very feasible option. By 2020, we should attain about 450,000 megawatts of power generation capacity. But in terms of the energy supply, it may work out to about 10 to 11%. But in terms of the installed capacity, it could be about 20% should be feasible.
So apart from this, we have to encourage the rooftop solar system on each consumer, so that we can provide a self energy as well as the grid facility by net metering system. That will, if you develop in that micro level, it will meet the requirement of the 2020.
We are right now at 7 to 8%, and I can safely say we can increase by 1% every year. So we should be somewhere around 16 to 17%.
16 to 17.
It will actually contribute much more. A lot of things need to shape up for a larger contribution, including policy level decisions on, as I said, larger project allocations and so on and so forth. If those kind of things develop in the next couple of years or so, by 2015 itself, we'd be doing more than 10% at least.
I think after a while, people will realize that rather than build a thermal plant and then close it after 10 years or 15 years, it's better to go into renewable directly at first stage. And at some stage, at policy level, we will also have to do a lot of thinking, because grid has also to be managed, because we don't want suddenly power coming in and going out. So we may need conventional power only to bridge that gap. Other than that, it can be all renewable.
Well, with this we come to an end of today's discussion. I'd like to thank all the panelists for giving their valuable input and joining us here in Power News.
Thank you.
I'd also like to thank all the viewers for watching Power News. Do join us next week for more news and updates. Till then, goodbye and take care.